And welcome back to the Weekend Debate, and with my guests, as promised in this section, at least to start with, the business of holidays. You're a travel agent, you obviously bring people in, you have hotel, you still got your connections.
Borders.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've talked many times way back when you were meant to do your direct flights last year, and it was it was a total situation because you had to wait and find out what's going on.
If you listen to a certain leader, we just do a few. But in fact, when I heard that statement, I actually thought, wait a minute, we do 40 a year, but that's just an odd one. Apparently, was stated at a certain person. But yeah, the direct flight program has been very prominent in us for a number of years. Obviously, we're flying to different destinations around the world. But on the other hand, we're bringing people in as well. TT week, we do well with the TT. Incoming, we do a lot of incoming. It's not all outcoming. And of course, we get a lot of people coming in to see our heritage, which I think we should all be proud of, because it's like a mini Disneyland with the trains, the trams. The promenade hopefully will come along, but
don't go there today, please.
No,
not the promenade, not the P word. No, okay, but you're a travel agent anyway, so you're used to sending people away on normal holidays. Forget the direct
well, absolutely. So we send a lot of people, but there is a lot of reluctancy at the moment because there is no set plan by this government of where we're going. We've asked, but we don't seem to be getting back any clarification. Looking forward, the obvious is to try and build the bridge between here and the UK. If we can get those borders uniformed, and I've always advocated, and when I look at what is being done by other destinations around the world, it's testing, it's tracking. And that is a sideline. Maybe had testing been in place with the steam packet situation, that might have been spotted a lot earlier. But going internationally, most of our traffic goes through the UK or goes through Ireland. So that is another story, because as you know, in May, it looks like they're going to bring in the traffic light system, which is a way it is going. You've got red, amber and green. And that will work. The next thing is going to be the electronic certificate, or
hang on. Let's just talk about air bridges first, because this is going to be the first little, isn't it? And you heard him mention Guernsey, which I was a bit surprised about, because Guernsey's about to open up to everyone, so I can't see how that's going to work. But don't you want to do your flights to Mallorca or something?
But when we a year ago, when we wrote to the cabinet and said, it has to be, it was a reply to Manx Radio. It has to be covert free. Okay, fair enough. So obviously one of our big routes is Mallorca. Certainly it's low, and very low indeed. But of course, until we have some sort of directive going forward, we've got nothing, no basis.
Yeah, but that will come under the traffic lights now, won't it? That's the thing. If it's a green and everyone's vaccinated, blah, 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 you might be okay again now, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I understand that. I mean, most of our clients would be a lot happy to travel to the UK, and I've obviously spoken to a lot, because obviously is that we'll get our second vaccine. And then a lot of them are thinking, let's leave it for a few months to see whether we need a booster, because looking through our travel industry, there's it's still a lot of uncertainties, but certainly the vaccine is a plus. The vaccine certificate, and then the green light system.
What's the conference levels though like? Are people now turning to book their holidays for this year, next year, or whenever?
Well, what all we've been doing for last year is re-altering departure dates. Certainly there's new bookings that are coming in. I would have to say it was 2022. It's a general feeling everybody's trying to make it work, but it's looking like 2022 is going to be the year. I think the Isle of Man, if they at least could open up to the UK staycation market, then they could bring in UK visits. I can show you now that if we're going to be left behind, because I can say Jersey and Guernsey are preparing to open their borders.
But they're weeks ahead of us. You're saying a lot of what you said there. Yeah, that.
There's a fundamental issue here, and it's letting go of elimination, and I haven't heard very much so far from the current administration that we're letting go of elimination. You know, the black and white, we're COVID-free or we're locked down. Yeah. Forget all that. We're going to live with COVID for a number of years. It's going to mutate. It's going to be around. What does mitigation look like? And how do we internally in the island deal with it? Because let's be clear, we can't go on being an open prison forever.
Yeah, that's my description.
Open prison.
We come out of prison into an open prison.
It's a beautiful open prison, and it's got to stop.
Wow.
Absolutely, it's got to stop. And we've got to understand how we, as individual citizens, must behave ourselves in terms of being responsible. And back to the ventilation, back to the issue of making sure the vaccinations are in there. I think we should be opening early. I think the first thing we should say is, okay, I'm not going to address particular testing systems because I'm not sure I know enough about individual options. But what I am certain of is that we should be opening air bridges as soon as we possibly can, that we should be opening self-catering as fast as we can. I mean, literally within a number of weeks from here. And then be fairly quick about opening the tourism sector. Now that will upset some people, those people who think that we can remain COVID-free. No, we cannot. It's how we deal with the level of COVID infections that we've got, and whether or not the infections that we've got are actually the new, really difficult mutations.
Okay. We have to be clear and state clearly about opening the borders, what it is we could do. I mean, I keep hearing, or we're all hearing, we're opening the borders, we're opening the borders. But I can assure you, nobody wants to come and visit their family and go into self-catering or a hotel room for self-isolation before they can see. They don't want to do that. That is a no-no.
I didn't mean by self-catering that they were going to isolation. Because they're in a family group, or individual in self-catering, their only risk, effectively, is how they behave themselves outside of that.
Absolutely.
And each business, this idea that a business can open on Monday, is that what they mind? Actually, every business should have a plan in its head as to how it's going to contribute to the process of diminishing. I mean, there's been occasions when we were in a non-lockdown situation before, between 2 and 3, and there were some places, and I would look at them, I thought, I'm not going in there, because the ventilation was poor, humidity levels high, loads and loads of people in there. Yeah. We cannot behave ourselves anymore in that fashion.
Okay, more in a moment. Jed, I mean, let's explain to people. Bring in golf.
It's not
teams,
golf,
wasn't it?
But it's all kinds of tourism groups.
That must have been devastating for you, right? Nothing's come in, right?
Well, life has changed, hasn't it? Life has changed, and we've got to have systematic and robust approaches that give confidence, so you know where you are. So it's almost like a tick list, and you follow that code, and it could be regarding ventilation, mass and spacing and so forth, and people have got to adapt. So we accept that because the borders are going to open, because the outcomes of mental health and well-being, and it can't go on and we can't sustain it. So the Isle of Man will become a tourist destination again. The rules might be slightly different, but we've got so many opportunities here on the island.
I think especially when we know that the UK are just about to open their staycation market. They're bringing cruise ships. I mean, we've
got quite a lot booked. I looked online actually to see what should have been, because they booked 2-3 years ahead.
But
do you think that's going to happen?
To come ashore?
Well, do you think they should come ashore?
It has to. We have to adapt this year. We've got the finish line, which is supposed to be September. I mean, that's immensely difficult to work with, isn't it?
Well, the season's over. I mean, the UK is about to explode. You try and get UK accommodation because obviously the international is still uncertain, but the prices are going up. There's limited accommodation. But the Isle of Man could be great again. We could tap into that, and those people that can't go internationally will come to the Isle of Man. They may not want to go to Guernsey or Jersey.
You know your inbox will be full by the end of people. This. How dare you mention opening the borders? I mean, we all know that this is what's going on, and Howard's little cards on his table are all saying, "Well done."
We're all very sensible. We're very fortunate that everybody is well behaved on the Isle of Man, and I feel that if there's direction put in, and we're not doing it on our own. Look at what other countries are doing. Look what the other lands are doing. Then follow suit. But obviously, it's down to the science, as they say.
Here we go again, the science. But I mean, borders open when? When do you want them open? Now, ASP.
If we need them open, I would say 1st of July.
I think we need a super framework first. So there are tourism groups that could fit in on the island. It could be, why not have, say, 100 people in who can fit the criteria, and they're outdoors in self-catering in the country. And then that is a unit. But remember, we all carry one of these. So why can't we have an app that's really clever, tells you where you are, where you can go, what you're doing?
There is one now we can use. There is one now that we can use. It's all out there.
I mean, what frightens me is we haven't started the process of how to work the internal borders, which is the individual businesses, and government hasn't spoken to that. It's still living yesterday's format of completely open and free or completely closed.
Well, he's changed his mind. He's definitely moving now. Howard's changed his mind.
They need to move more quickly and as you say, more clearly. People have got to understand what's expected of them for their well-being.
What's your mailbox like, though? You must get 50-50, don't you?
No, the people who are more ambivalent or willing to take the next steps forward are not that noisy. What business is saying is, for goodness sake, how much longer can we go on? As taxpayers, we also should be saying, how long can we live this false reality of closed borders? There is a strong lobby that says, for goodness sake, keep the borders closed. But those people will be helped if they understand what an open border, careful society
looks like. What is your mailbox like? You must get lots of people very, very passionate and give you quite a telling off if you say that.
No, more people now are saying, look, I live on the Isle of Man, but I've got relations away. And come on. If there isn't a serious change of heart, I can't go on much longer living on the Isle of Man with relations away. We're starting to do ourselves serious damage.
Absolutely. And I would say we've done several surveys, and I would have to say it's over 50% of the population, travelling population, wants to go, and it's not necessarily on holiday, they just need to go over to see family. The other thing is they want to bring family here. It is getting, I agree with Chris, it's getting to a state where people have
Do you think you can run these direct holidays, let's say to Mallorca or whatever, people coming back knowing they'd have to sit in the isolation for a week or 2 weeks? Is that not possible?
It's not possible. It's not possible. And you, obviously, if there was an emergency, it's possible. But even so, I mean, there is a clear directive we have in place now for our direct flights. We're ready to go. But the longer we leave it, the harder it gets, as anyone would know here in tourism, is to
So you could get something this year if you were given some instructions,
or
how much notice would you need?
Running from being totally open without sensible, responsible conduct on the one hand, and being completely shut on the other, it's a false situation to be in. We haven't discussed for 1 minute here today, around all our COVID discussions, the fact that the waiting lists are climbing massively. That the health service has to really find a way now to deliver to all those people, some in really distressed circumstances, that need full access and quick access to the hospitals. I'm beginning to really worry about our young people. I mean, when you're young, and I can even remember this far back, it was a time for adventure and an element of risk.
Yeah.
And what we're creating in these young people,
They've lost a year.
Shut down, don't do this, don't do that, don't take
Can't
risks.
see your friends. No.
There's going to be real damage there if we carry on the way we're doing.
That's exactly what we're...
It's balanced risk that we've got to learn to live with, and an understanding of conduct related to that risk.
We'll come kicking and screaming though, surely. The UK is going to do things, Jersey and Guernsey, always whatever, but we'll be dragged along, whatever happens, won't we? It cannot be isolationist.
We can't be dragged along here because
We've
we
got to be
we have,
proactive.
thank you, he's answered the question.
We've got to be proactive.
Right, before we finish, I'm guessing we're all of an age, but we've had our first jabs. Maybe
Yeah, 2.
Well, and I just want to get your opinions. Tell me, how was it?
First one,
and any reactions?
First one we sailed through. Second one was horrible because
Which one do you have?
AstraZeneca. Because the second one reminded me of bits of me that are going to go wrong in the future as an older person. Like there was a pain in the shoulder and this hip, and I thought, oh goodness me, the future has been beckoning me. Do you know what I mean? But it took 2 or 3 days. Felt very tired. And now I'm very comfortable with the fact that I've had both, as Joan has as well. And I look forward to our scientists being able to construct a vaccine in the future, as they do with flu, that is going to protect us in the future from variants coming in. It's the ability of our scientists now to construct vaccinations which inhibit future difficult mutations.
Well, tough one. I, of course, had COVID last year, so...
This is where I move away.
Oh, no, this is interesting. I forgot.
Yeah.
So that affects you having the jab, does it?
At the moment, I mean, I've got my appointment in waiting in limbo. Gosh, I shouldn't be discussing my personal medical issues.
I'm sorry.
Data protection.
Speak out.
But no, I can be quite open and frank about it. And COVID did leave a bit of a legacy. Okay. And it was quite a worrying time. I mean,
You mean long COVID you had?
oh yeah, but at the time, you know, I had a couple of weeks where you thought, I need this to go, and you know, you're looking at the TV and it's all carnage in Italy and Spain and what have you, and Boris is in, and all this stuff is going. You think, my God! And then the vaccine has come out. Now, in my mind, and I've discussed it with a practitioner, that the antibodies that I have in are linked, I think, to the vaccine that we have now, and I'm just kind of waiting.
When did you have it? When did you have the infection?
Oh, it was a year ago.
Before variant came in.
Oh yeah. So there's that issue. It's a case of, you know, wait until the new one is on the shelf.
How do you feel when you had COVID? I mean, was it serious?
Oh,
was it mild?
It was incredible. There's a few of us that got it, brought it back from the Alps skiing, and I know a few
As
people.
you do.
I know 2 or 3 people, 2 definitely, who are suffering, you know, since then.
Yeah.
Really, you know, tough medical challenges. And for myself, you think, oh, I'm not right, but gradually you get there. You do get there. So it was a tough time, but you know, we lost a lot of people on the island.
You didn't get hospitalised or anything else, did you?
No, but after about 2 weeks, you think, oh, I need this to go. But I mean, this goes back to, you know, the 6th and 7th of March, and it was that weekend where it really was kicking off.
Last year,
yeah, it was kicking off. And I felt so strongly about it. I wrote an article for the Manx Labour Party and put it into the newspapers that landed, I think it's on the 16th of March, and that was saying, look, we need to just shut the borders down temporarily, because we had a bit of a lost weekend before where there was nothing coming out of our cabinet office here. It just went dead, and I think it was at the time when Boris Johnson was, you know, stipulating it's the herd immunity, let it rip, and what have you. And I often wonder, what influence did that have over here? And it took us another, say, 9-10 days for us to close the gate. And let's face it, I mean, I know we applaud how well we did, but it was so blooming obvious that we're surrounded by water. That was the thing to do, was to close your borders. And I do think we were 9 or 10 days shy of where we should have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on the list. I'm on the list.
Oh right. Do you know which one? Do you get a choice?
I'll be going to the airport.
No, but you get a choice of which one of those vaccines.
No, you don't get a choice.
No.
Even though you've had it though, I thought maybe there might be one of those.
No.
Okay. Jan, how do you get on?
I got on very well. They're all very professional, very helpful down there. It was just plain sailing. However, I was warned by a lovely lady. She said, you may feel a little bit of dehydration. I said, okay. Well, that evening I was fine. And suddenly I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, I feel dry, really dry. And I never take water, and I'm drinking water, so that was fine. The next morning, oh, okay. And then during the day, I thought, oh my gosh, I was, on your Zoom as you were, I felt like a zombie. I put my dark glasses on, it was just, but it took about 24 hours. But I do think one thing that's come out of it, I'm running faster and I'm cycling faster, so there must be something.
At your age, unbelievable.
So it must be bionic.
Shows you how slow you go in the first place.
One jab though, no jabs, and 2 jabs.
Yeah.
And was the second one any better than the first one, or any
No,
hope?
the first one was easy.
Oh, right.
Except I, to this day I don't know whether the reaction after the first one was a bit psychological. I felt a bit funny. Weird, but it went. But the second one was horrible.
You're always funny and weird. Do you not be told?
The concern is the length of the needles. They show you the length of that needle. You think, oh gosh, is it really that? And the needle's only that, and you don't even feel of anything.
I remember as a youngster when the needles used to be like, fire pokers.
What I couldn't believe was hearing people on the radio moaning that they didn't know about the side effects, and yet they were, I don't know about you, but I was very clearly told you're going to have potentially X, Y, and Z, and
But everybody's reactions are different.
Yes,
that's fair to say, isn't it? I think the way that the vaccine interacts with bodies, everybody's got a different story.
Yeah. But you were given all the the side effect lists, everything that went with the vaccine. They were very professional, very good, and I think. I recommend it to anyone.
Right. Well, I haven't got my second one yet.
We must have another program in the future about what long-term deep changes are happening in our society, our business world. Well, as a consequence of that, that's for another day.
We got loads more programs, and you're now become my sort of right-hand man on these things because you're not standing again. No. And he brought a list with him. He never brings lists. So I bet there's
so much to do. We've
done nothing.
We've discussed a little tiny bit of this.
Oh wow!
There's some fascinating outcomes from this, and there's a couple of things. So if you speak to anyone, say, who works in a supermarket, and just ask them about the booze sales. And the booze sales, it's Christmas every weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the outcomes going to be in 6 months' time, a year's time? We can kind of, speculate.
You've been looking at my bin again, by any chance.
But the other interesting, I was in a certain establishment here, and they turned around and said, gosh, everyone's buying expensive wines. They're upping their ante because they're not going outside and, used to wines then. They think, oh, well, I'm used to paying X amount for a glass of wine, so I can buy.
Just to wrap this up, people have got money ready to spend on holidays and, golfing and things and staying, whatever, right?
I think in some ways the local economy will have done well, but again, we could talk about Douglas, you see, in the shops and the amount of delivery driving that's gone on. So another one is
Douglas.
You can all come back another day. I know, but
Monday, when you go walk down Strand Street on Monday and you'll see the shops open and the shops that are not open, then that is another story because it's.
Totally agree. Listen, thank you so much. Dropping your microphone just on the home hurdle now. Sorry for the crunching noises you're probably hearing. He's doing so well. I was just going to say thanks for coming in. We get the plugs in now. You can go to Freedom Travel for you. You do your vlogging. We haven't even talked about that.
I do a bit of
people see you though?
Just do a bit
point in the right direction.
Yeah, well, find me online, Jed Power, for lots of things. So there you go.
And we're back in real Timmels and Keys from London.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
And the direct flights 2022 pre-registered.
Right, I should have started now because that's it. It's going to look like a plug.
It should be open by then.
Okay. Thank you to all my guests. Thanks. If you've got any comments, if you want to appear with it here and balance the show up more, because we'd love to hear from anyone to get in touch. And as always, thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll be back next week.